Hi, friends. So today we are going to pick back up talking more about animals that we can find in the North Carolina mountains. So remember that North Carolina is the state that we live in, and our state is broken up into three regions or three areas. So we are starting with the mountains. And so we have a mountain range that goes through North Carolina. And last time we talked about the plants that we can find in the mountains, plants that thrive and have everything that they need to survive in mountains and forests. The middle part of our state is called the Piedmont. That is where we live. And then near the beach, we have the coastal plains. So we're going to finish talking about the mountains today. And we are going to talk about three animals who have made their habitat in the mountains. Remember, a habitat is where an animal lives. We're going to talk about the cardinal, which is a bird, the eastern box turtle, and a black bear. So let's get started. So let me click through these plants. Remember, we learned about the azalea, we learned about dogwoods, and we learned about the evening primrose, which I thought was a really cool plant. But the cardinal is the state bird of North Carolina. I think that we've talked about that before. Have you ever seen a cardinal in your backyard? Have you ever seen a cardinal at Hillendale? I've seen a cardinal at Hillendale, so you can see cardinals all over North Carolina, but a lot of cardinals live in the mountains. So the males, the boy cardinals, are bright red. They're this bright color. So this one on the right here is the male. And the females, or the girl cardinals, are a little bit more brown and gray colored. They like to eat insects, seeds, and fruits. So they like to hang out and spend time in hedges. We learned about what a hedge was, kind of like a bush, vines, and forests. So if they like to live in hedges, vines, and forests, why do you think a lot of cardinals make their habitat in the mountains? Cardinals also love to sing. They know 24 different songs, and both the boy cardinals and the girl cardinals sing. So if you ever hear any birds singing in the morning, look around because it might be a cardinal. Male cardinals, the boy cardinals, like to protect their territory. They're very protective over the space that they think is theirs. So sometimes if they live in a place that has lots of buildings or lots of houses, they might run into windows because they see their reflection and they think that it's another cardinal trying to take over their space. The eastern box turtle is the only land turtle in North Carolina. So it's the only turtle that lives only on the land. And the eastern box turtle can grow to be about 6 inches long, which is about maybe the size of your pencil after you've sharpened it a few times. And they can live to be 25 to 30 years old. Now, that is pretty old for an animal. So, listen to where they like to live. They like to live in wooded areas. The mountains have a lot of woods and forests. The mountains have forests. And sometimes they'll even hide in bogs or swamps when it's really hot. So they like to cool off in the bogs and the swamps. They can box up completely inside of their shells when they feel threatened. So if you look up at the top picture, that is a box turtle. He has boxed himself completely inside of his shell to protect himself because the shells of a turtle are really, really hard. And box turtles love to eat strawberries, blackberries, mushrooms, all things that you can find on vines or in the forest, grasshoppers, earthworms, and snails. So they eat both plants and other animals because they'll also eat earthworms and snails. But you can find all of those foods in the mountains. The last animal that we are going to talk about today that lives in the mountains is the black bear. And black bears usually live in forests. The mountains in North Carolina have lots of forests, but they're also found in mountains and swamps. So black bears don't usually live where there are lots of people. And one thing about the mountains in North Carolina is the mountain part of our state doesn't have as many big cities like the Piedmont does, because some of the bigger cities are broken up by the Appalachian Mountains that go through our state. So black bears can survive in the mountains because there aren't as many people there. They also could live in swamps, or they might even live on a mountain. They like to make their dens. Remember, bears live inside of dens. That's where they go to hibernate. They can make those dens in caves, in burrows, or other sheltered spots. You can find lots of sheltered spots in the forest or on a mountain. Sometimes, if there are really tall trees, they might make their dens inside of tree holes that are way up at the top of the tree. They mostly eat grass, herbs, and fruit, but sometimes they will eat other animals like fish. So if you've ever seen a video of a bear going fishing in a river or in a stream, they also like to eat fish. And there are lots of those rivers and streams up in the mountains. So these types of bears have a very good sense of smell. So they can usually smell the fish that they want to eat. They can smell if there's an herb that they want to go eat. And so you can usually find them standing on their hind back legs because they're sniffing. They smell something they want to go explore. And the black bear's coat has an adaptation. Remember when we learned about ocean animals, we learned about nocturnal animals, we talked a little bit about adaptations. And that is how an animal has changed to be able to survive in its habitat. So the black bear's coat has lots of layers of fur. It's really, really thick, and that keeps it warm in the cold winter months. So in the mountains, it can get really, really cold. And so the black bears need to have a really thick coat of fur so that its body will stay warm during those cold, cold months. And even though a black bear is really, really big, it can run really, really fast. It can run faster than humans. They can run up to 25 miles an hour. So that's about how fast your car drives through your neighborhood. Pretty cool. So tomorrow we're going to start learning about animals who live in the Piedmont and plants that survive in the Piedmont. But I'm going to show you some pictures of some other animals and plants that live in the mountains. We have otters in the mountains, skunks, snakes. This is a bobcat. We have eagles and rabbits. We have pine trees. So the Christmas trees that some of you put up at your house in December, a lot of those trees grow on Christmas tree farms in the North Carolina mountains. So that is another plant that thrives really, really well in the mountains, partially because it can get pretty cold. All right, friends, that is all that I have for science today. I want you to be thinking about one plant that you've learned about so far that you think is really cool, and one animal that you've learned about so far that you think is interesting. Because when we're finished learning about all of the plants and animals from the mountains and the Piedmont and the coastal plains, you're going to get to choose one animal and one plant that you want to write about, and you're going to get to talk about why it survives in the mountains or the Piedmont or the coastal plains. All right, friends, have a great day. I hope that I get to see you super duper soon.